Going on, mi amigos? Welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Boxing, man. This is episode 18. We're going to call this episode The King is Back, baby. Canelo's back in the ring to end our month of September. We've had another great month of boxing once again this year. Has been amazing. We can't say enough about the fights we're getting, and then we're only in September, and we're going to get a big fight tomorrow, Canelo, Charlo. We're going to break that fight down. We're going to break down the undercard on that fight. Also, got a little bit of boxing news. I didn't really want to talk much boxing news today, man. I was going to skip it, to be honest with you guys, and just focus really on this fight tomorrow. But we got some really, really big news from the heavyweight division. I'm sure you guys already know what that news is, but we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. But first, we're going to give our love to the main event tomorrow, Canelo versus Charlo, and the undercards. Come on. Jesus Ramos is going to be facing Lupin. Then you're going to have Ugas versus Barrow. I mean, what a night we're going to have of boxing. A good little, I think it's a middleweight event is going to kick that off, Garcia kid. But hey, we're going to get into all that and more as we get into the show. But let's get into what we're drinking on today first. Of course, I told New Rip that I would save their bourbon. I would rep their bourbon. Not really save it, but rep their bourbon on the Canelo Charlo fight, man, because they're from my hometown, and who better to rep than your own hometown, guys? And in return, they gave me a T-shirt, nice little hat to rep. Hat's a little too big, but hey, I can still rep it up here in the little studio area that I have. But hey, guys, I'm kicked back. I am relaxed today. I got my feet up. I'm ready to just talk about this big, big fight we got coming up this weekend, man. I'm telling you guys, I am super pumped. I know you guys got to be, especially if you're boxing fans. Uh, a lot of questions being asked, and we're going to try to answer them today, guys. Also, before we get into the show, let's give a shout out to our sponsors, man. Brown Family Construction. They, for any of your construction needs in the Northern Kentucky or Cincinnati area, feel free to hit up Brown Family Construction. You can find them and all their information on Facebook, and a contact number for them on there. Jason Brown is the head guy, man. The name is in, they treat you the same way, the name. Brown Family Construction. They treat you like family, guys. So jump out there if you need any indoor or outdoor work done. Feel free to hit up Brown Family Construction, man. They are awesome in everything they do, man. Like I said. But hey, man, what do we call this show, guys? Bourbon and Boxing, baby. Where we drink bourbon and we talk boxing. So, what are we going to do, man? We're going to drink a little bit of bourbon while we talk our boxing, man. I might sip on a shot. I don't know. Might take a shot, might sip on a shot. I need to get me one of them rock glasses, man. Because I'd like to sip on it sometimes and not always just shoot it like I'm a college frat boy. Go kick the yeah! All right, guys. All right. Let's toast to this. Once again, I'm your host, Jeff. This is episode 18 of Bourbon and Boxing, man. The King is back. Talking Canelo, Charlo fight all day tomorrow is going to be, I'm sure it's going to be being talked about on everywhere else, but tune in with me when the show's uploaded and hear what I have to say to break down this fight, guys. Let's take this shot. Oh, I said I was going to sip it. Whoa. That didn't happen. Did not happen. Well, hey. Anyways, man, I checked in on the weigh in on this Canelo Charlo fight, man. I had to weigh in today. He had the presser yesterday. Some of the undercard guys got to do some weigh in and all that kind of stuff today. But we got to see Canelo Charlo face to face. Man, Charlo looks big, but Canelo looks ripped. Canelo looks like he's in great shape. Charlo looks like he's in great shape, guys. I think this is going to turn out to be a hell of a fight, man. There's a lot of questions being asked about Canelo, guys. Everybody's wondering, man, is this, he's aging, he's losing a step, losing his hunger for the sport. When this fight got announced, everybody was, 100% Canelo was going to win this fight. But then, questions started to arise, about, his last couple fights, what we saw against Bivol, and then what we saw against Ryder. It's hard to really judge a guy on Canelo on those fights. One with the Bivol fight, he jumped up to 175, a weight class that he has no business being in. Let's be honest, he doesn't have any business being in the 175. Those guys are too big on him. So if any of them like Bivol can box, you can keep that distance on him, and it's too much of a distance to make up. Like he's got that distance against a guy like Charlo today, uh, but it's not like a Bivol type, reach that Bivol had on him enough to where he couldn't get inside no matter what he did. Uh, so it's hard to say he's losing a step because he didn't look great against Bivol. When we knew that he had no business taking that, being in that division. He took a challenge. It didn't turn out the way he thought it would. He moved back down, took some time off, got himself right. Then he fought Ryder after coming back. I think he said he had some rib issues. He had a wrist issue with his wrist. He had to get some surgery done. All that fun stuff. Took a little bit of time off. And for Canelo, a guy who fights 3-4 times a year, yes, if he takes a half a year off, man, that is definitely some time off for him. So coming back and, of course, he fought Triple G. To me, Triple G is at the point where, we're not real impressed with Triple G at this point in his career. He's older. He's lost a lot. It was a good fight. It was a basic fight. He wasn't able to get Triple G, the older guy, out of there, finish that up. But that's like a rivalry type fight. Hard to judge him on that one. Ryder is a tough guy, to be honest, man. Guys aren't getting him out like that. If you go look at his record, he's not a guy that gets knocked out. He's not a guy that's taking KOs, stuff like that. So to say, based off those last 3 fights, I'm going to judge Canelo and say he lost a step or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say, has he looked like Canelo that we saw in the early part of 2022, later, stuff like that? He doesn't look as aggressive. But, I mean, think about if you watch him, honestly, within the last couple of years, he looks like he's taken a step back as far as he's not as aggressive as he used to be. Now he kind of beats up on the body. He beats up on your arms, your ribs, your body, and kind of wears you down and then utilizes it, then starts landing big punches to take you out of the fight. So now he seems to be more of a calculated fighter, a guy who's in there. He knows what he's trying to do. He sized you up, whatever, takes his time sizing you up, kind of beats you down a little bit. And then in the later rounds, is after 6 rounds, 7, 8, 9, that's when he really starts to beat down a guy, and then he usually lands a big heavy punch to knock the guy out. That's pretty much what Canelo has been the last couple years, last few years, man. He's not overly aggressive fighter. He's not pushing the pace of the fight. He's dictating the pace of the fight. Pushing and dictating are two different things, man. Pushing the pace is him being the more aggressive guy. Dictating the fight is him basically letting the fight come to him, making you do everything he wants you to do. You're going to follow him around like a little puppy. He's going to let you think that you're building some kind of confidence in yourself, that you feel like you're landing things, and then he starts to beat up on you. That's how he dictates a fight, in my opinion, man. That's the difference in a pace and a dictate. But if you look at that part of it, when he goes, like what we've seen in the past with him, he has become more of a calculated fighter the last few years, where he's not going to, like I've already said, he's not going to push the pace of the fight. So, what does he have to do against a guy like Charlo? Charlo has the reach on him. He has a lot of speed, a lot more speed than what people realize, and he has a little bit of power, but we don't know how that power and that weight is going to affect his speed and his power too, though, guys. That's one thing we're not for sure. When Charlo moving up to 168, it's not actually, if you think about it, it's a big bump up for him, 154 to 168. That's almost 10 pounds. It's over 10 pounds that he's putting on, guys, that he's putting on for this fight. So, that could dictate how fast he is now and how that power transitions up to the next level. Is he able to bring the power with him that he has at 154? Is he able to bring that speed with him? He looked good. He looked in good shape, really good shape at the presser. He looked really confident, like he's ready for this fight, and you could see in his eyes this guy is definitely ready. So you can expect that he's going to come out there and ready to fight Canelo. But my only issue is outside of him having the reach on him, and utilize that jab as best as he can. Keep Canelo at bay. Don't let him beat up on your arms like he likes to do. Don't let him get inside, put you up against the ropes, and beat up on your body like he's going to want to do, because he wants to hit those arms, wear them down to where you could barely throw a punch because he's beat the shit out of your arms, man. So if you're Charlo, you got to utilize your speed and you got to utilize your jab and your distance to keep the distance with Canelo and hope to keep him at bay. Bring it to the middle of the ring and fight him, man. In the middle of the ring, and try to use your jab to your advantage, man. I think that's really Charlo's only chance. Like I said, I don't see the power transitioning enough for him to knock Canelo out. I don't see him outboxing Canelo for 12 rounds, and I definitely don't see him getting a decision. So his real only hope of winning this fight is that, maybe he dominates in just utter fashion, right? Maybe he dominates in a way that we've never seen Canelo dominate before. Maybe or Charlo, maybe he just outboxed Canelo. He gives him a box. I don't see that. Canelo's not that guy. We watched Crawford Spence, and we watched Crawford absolutely dominate Spence, and we everybody's like, well, Spence was up here. How did he get dominated? He's one of the elite fighters. Canelo is an elite fighter, and I don't ever see anybody dominating him in that way unless he's older, slow, whatever. So Charlo's only real chance is to knock Canelo out. And when do you have the best chance to possibly do that? It's got to be within the first 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds of the fight. And he's got to hope that he can land something. And I don't see Canelo even allowing him to get in the distance of landing anything. If Charlo has to keep the fight at a distance, then that means it's going to kind of take away that power punch. And now he's got to hope to just outbox and catch Canelo on a counter punch. So if you're Charlo, that's pretty much what you're hoping to do. Now, if you're Canelo is really hard to break down what Canelo does, because he takes each fighter and he kind of utilizes each one of their weaknesses. He's going to do what we know he wants to do. He wants to beat up your arms. He wants to beat up your body. He wants to wear you down within the first 6, 7 rounds. He's going to size you up the first 3 rounds. So the first 3 rounds might be your best shot at Canelo. In those first 3 rounds where he's kind of sizing you up. He's not a fast starter. He takes his time getting started. But once he does, that's where the issue lies with Charlo, is allowing Canelo to get comfortable and then start pushing the pace of that fight, or dictating the pace of that fight, shall I say. Dictating the pace of that fight. And then you find yourself doing things that you're not wanting to do. Find yourself in a corner, find yourself up against the ropes, getting your arms and body beat down on this guy. And then round 7, 8, or 9, you're barely able to throw a punch because he's just absolutely pounded away on you, man. And that's what makes Canelo so tough, is that he's going to come in, he's going to get at you with those big punches. Now, I'm really interested to see how Canelo starts this fight. Like I said, I think he really has a lot to prove here. This is a must-win fight for him. Not only just a must-win, but a must-win statement fight for Canelo. Everybody questioning, this is how he can shut everybody up, go out and dominate a great fighter in Charlo. And when it's all said and done, I don't want to hear bullshit-ass excuses. If Canelo beats Charlo, I don't want to hear, well, Charlo was the smaller guy. He shouldn't have been at 168, blah, 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 blah. Because when this fight was announced, that was the excuse that most of everybody was using, that Canelo shouldn't be fighting a smaller guy. This is a cherry-picking fight. So they weren't really given, this was a no-win for Canelo when it first got announced. Now we get closer to the fight, and I see a lot of people leaning towards Charlo. A lot of people, oh, well, Charlo. I guess when you started to figure out that Charlo was bigger, had the reach, he was the older fighter, because this is probably stuff that the average fan didn't know. So everybody's like, oh, well, he's cherry-picking Charlo. He's a smaller guy. He is not the smaller guy, guys. He's not now natural weight wise. Yes, Canelo is a more natural weight at 168 than Charlo is, obviously. But Charlo probably walks around. I mean, he fights once a year on the average, so he probably walks around 168, 170 most of the freaking year, and then cuts weight when he needs to at 154, where he fights at. Because Charlo, like I said, he only fights once a year, so he obviously, I mean, he probably walks around at a bigger weight. He is a bigger guy, so obviously he probably cuts down during training time. So he's probably a lot more comfortable with that weight than what we realize. Now in the ring, how comfortable is he with that weight? Because he's never fought at 168, being a 154 fighter. Like I said, transitioning, how will that speed come up with him? Will that power come with him? And or will he lose some of that? Will he gain power but lose speed? Uh, which is something he doesn't want in this fight because he's got to establish that jab and be really quick with a double jab. Body head, whatever he needs to do to keep the distance on Canelo. He's going to have to utilize a really good jab game. That's obvious. And then how long he's able to do it without getting countered or without Canelo kind of figuring it out and then calculating what he's going to do. Uh, that's a really hard fight, guys. I'm going to go with Canelo. The experience. I don't think he's done, guys. He's only 33 years old. May he be. May may I mean he's been fighting since he was 15. So he's like an old 33 in boxing. He's been doing it for so long that maybe he is getting a little tired of boxing. Maybe he's like, "Hey, I'm going to do this 3-fight deal with PBC and I'm out because I don't want to do this." And he doesn't have to. The guy had a 200 million contract, $200 million contract with Golden Boy. He got 167 million from the Zone. This PBC contract had to be, well around the 150 $200 million mark. So if you go by pay-per-view sales, ticket sales, his contracts, this guy is obviously probably he's close to being a billionaire. Uh, he's close to have made $1 billion in boxing, which is really, really hard to do, guys. I don't know if you guys are understanding that. A big payday in boxing to these guys, and a big payday to me too. But $8 million is like a big payday to these guys. So what do you have to do? How dominant are you to get to the point where you're getting $150 million, $200 million contracts in boxing and on 3-fight deals? So break that down, to how much he's making per fight. I mean, I'm not a math musician here, so but we're looking at almost, what 50 mil a fight on the average that he's making. Let's say he's got a $200 million contract, he's making well around 75 mil a year, or 75 million for one fight, for one individual fight. So yeah, I mean, he's set his he's set his mark. In boxing, he's done, in my opinion, everything you can possibly do. There's really nothing more than just to fight these other guys who are on top, younger guys. Take challenges like Charlo. Hopefully fight a Benavidez in this 3-fight deal, and see how he can go out on top and really build on his legacy with these 3 next fights. Man, he can really cement himself as one of the greatest to ever box in boxing, and cement himself as a top 5 guy, in my opinion. If he can utilize these last 3 fights, let's say he beats Charlie, he beats Benavidez, and I don't know, the third fight's kind of up in the air. There's quite a few people he can fight. David Morale, that would be a beast. Let's say he beat Benavidez, Morale, and Charlo. I'm sorry, man, that cements him pretty well, to my opinion, as a top 5 guy, top 10 easily. You can argue top 10. You can't. I don't think if he wins these next 3 fights in this deal, and they're all any Benavidez, Charlo, and whoever that third fight may be, another big name, then it's hard not to say he's at least a top 10 guy. You can argue that about top 5 probably, but in my opinion, I would have to put him as a top 5 guy, with what he's accomplished. Jumping weight divisions, being undisputed champ, all that other stuff. So This is all legacy for him, man. He cannot lose this fight against Charlo. Now, if you're Charlo, what does this fight mean for you? This means your legacy also. Do you go to the top of the pound for pound if you beat Canelo? Depends. If he beats him with a decision, no. Crawford stays at the top of pound for pound. If he knocks Canelo out, then yeah, what? How can we not put this guy at the top of the pound for pound? Uh, you know what I mean? And then we would have seen this year three guys switch that. Let's say Charlo wins this somehow. He knocks Canelo out. We move him to the number one pound for pound. We'd have seen Inouye at number one. Then we would have seen Crawford at number one. Then we would have seen Charlo at number one. Three guys switch positions at the pound for pound at number one in one single year. So I mean that would sum up what boxing has been this year, what the sport has accomplished in just this year. Uh, so, I mean, that would be something super impressive to see. How can you not root for the underdog in Charlo to take down the king? You know what I mean? So, and what kind of fights that would set up down the road, possibly. Charlo beats a Canelo, drops down to back down to 154, and takes a fight against Crawford. You really want to cement your legacy. Say you go beat Canelo, then you go beat a Crawford. I mean, I just said Canelo would be a top five. I would definitely think Charlie would have to be in the talks of one of the top boxers of all time. If you go beat Canelo, then you go drop down, you go fight a Crawford and beat him. Yeah, that's a pretty good resume, in my opinion. Not one of the greatest all time. We know these guys back in the days fought 6 billion fights and all that other stuff. Different rules, different time. I think there should be a top 10 of guys going all the way back to like the 1900s. It was different sport with those guys. You fought 15 rounds. You fought 12, 20 rounds, 30 rounds. I mean, you fought till the guy fell down on the mat and died, and okay, you're the winner. Different rules, guys. Completely different sport. More gladiator style sport back in those times. And then even and just a less. The sport's not much more sanctioned than what it was then, as far as like, because I do call it the wild wild west of sports, so it's not much different in that way, but it is a little bit more sanctioned and watched and rules in place and stuff like that to protect fighters, uh, reffing, judging, all that fun stuff. Uh, but anyways, guys, there's this fight's going to contain just one of the best undercards I've seen in a really long time, man. I would have to say by far the best undercard uh, of the year, no doubt, man. And we're gonna go down here, and we are gonna look at this, and I'm telling you guys, man, just an impressive. Like I said earlier, you got Jesus Ramo, who is undefeated, young guy, young prospect. He's gonna get his a real tough challenge against Lupin. But let's see here. Yeah, the co-main event's going to be undefeated sensation Jesus Ramos Jr. He will take on hard-hitting top contender Erickson Hammer Lubin in a 12-round super welterweight special attraction. Uh, you're also going to get former world champion Ugandis Ugas versus Mario Barros going toe to toe for the interim WBC welterweight title, guys. Opening up the action at 8 p.m. is going to be a rising middleweights Elijah Garcia and Armando Rezindos squaring off in a 10-round attraction. That's the three fights that we're going to get with these guys. I mean, look, come on, guys. Jesus Ramos going to be fighting Lubin. You're going to get Ugas versus Barros. This Elijah Garcia, which I'm pretty sure I watched Elijah Garcia fight. And then Armando Resendez. I mean, this all from the main card, co-main event, to the other two cards on there. Just an amazing, absolutely amazing card that they put together for this fight. Now, I think that is the benefit of Charlo signing with PBC, because the fact that PBC has that stable of really, really good fighters, man. Really, really good fighters. which makes me wonder because earlier on my show earlier in the week we talked about Showtime possibly dropping boxing. It's been bought out by Paramount a few years ago. Paramount bought them and even said that they were going to look at everything, and if the the ratings weren't there, that they were going to drop certain things, and it was kind of the talk about the Showtime boxing, what was going to happen. Let's hope that's not the case, man. PBC has a hell of a stable. And you have to ask yourself, with Charlo just signing this deal, let's say Showtime gets rid of PBC boxing, what's the platform for them to go to? Do they have to now go to ESPN and try to jump on that platform? And I don't think Top Rank's going to allow that. Top Rank, you ain't coming to our platform. So somehow, some way, somebody's going to have to start a new platform. I mean, PBC has an unbelievable stable, and if you got Canelo there, you got to think if you're Showtime, you got to go through with these next 3 fights, maybe another year, 2 years, if they are serious, if Paramount's serious about dropping the boxing, which, God, man, that's going to suck. I'm not going to lie, because I don't want to see us in the U.S. lose another platform. We don't have a whole lot here outside of ESPN, Top Rank, and then Showtime, PBC. Fox had PBC for a little bit, and then they dropped them. So we don't really have those platforms here. Of course, we can get Matchroom across the pond. We can get Sky Sports across the pond. A couple places up in Canada that you could check out. Eye of the Tiger, but those Eye of the Tiger is kind of a younger promotional company that kind of does more upcoming prospects and stuff like that. Good to watch. They put on some really good fights, man. Shout out to Eye of the Tiger, man. You guys put on some awesome fights. I enjoy when I do catch you guys. And mainly, I think on ESPN is where I've caught you guys the last few times. So that's a big question on how is that going to be handled. I'm pretty sure it would have to happen after the Canelo deal because, man, that would suck for him to sign a 3-fight contract with PBC Showtime, and then PBC no longer have a platform to showcase their fights on. Do they just make every fight pay-per-view? That's not going to happen. So I don't know how that works out. If they've got plans to start their own platform, all this other stuff, man. We saw other companies try, and it just hasn't been all that successful for them. And it's really hard. Believe it or not, boxing is really popular here in the States, but it's not it's not the top of the echelon. It was more popular in the 80s and 90s, fell off a little in the 2000s, took a big dip late 90s, early 2000s, took a big dip. And then in the last 10 years, it's kind of popped up a little bit more. This year could really be a year that really helps boxing with what we've seen with all the great fights we've had that we're going to get to still end the year on. And then we got news today out of the heavyweight division. I wanted to save this for last. I wasn't going to talk about any news on this show for the Canelo Charlo show today. I was just basically going to leave all the news for next time. But this is a big, big announcement. Now, I had to go through and see it on several different boxing sites, several, ESPN Boxing Scene, Ring Magazine. I got a little information from Boxing History, Sidestep Boxing, these little channels that I go through to try to get some information, check some news out. All of them were reporting the same thing. Some were reporting that it was going to happen December 23rd. It was a set date, but then others, the more I got to reading in, like Boxing Scene and stuff like that, Boxing Scene was basically saying that it was going to take place during Riyadh, probably butchering that, some kind of holiday that they have over in Saudi Arabia. And it's going to be anywhere between mid-December and possibly early January. That fight will have a date here soon. Right now, it doesn't have a date, but according to what Tyson Fury, Frank Warren, I don't know if I've heard anything from Usyk confirming it, but Frank Warren and Tyson Fury have confirmed it. Boxing Scene, all these other sites have confirmed that this deal has been made, the contract is signed, and that this fight between Tyson Fury and Usyk will happen. The undisputed heavyweight championship. First time in 24 years, 25 years, something like that, since we've had an undisputed champion at the heavyweight division. So it's been a really long time since it looks like since 1999 or 2000 was the last year that we had a undisputed heavyweight champion, guys. So that fight has been announced. That Fury, Usyk, all these guys, Fury and Usyk are going to fight each other. That fight, guys, man, I really let me give you my true opinion on it. Uh, Fury, with some of the comments, Fury he's a troll. I'm just going to put it like that. He likes to kind of get you going, and he gets off on it, man. Like he messes with people. I think this Ngannou fight was all way for him to fuck with people in boxing, to pretty much show that he can do whatever he wants. And what are you gonna do? You can't do anything about it. You can bitch about it. You can get on your show and bitch about it like a little pansy ass. Get on here and cry at everybody. Oh, it's a little crawl baby. No, but seriously, I mean, that's what he's kind of proven here with this fight with Ngannou, which is wasting boxing's time, wasting heavyweight time. This should be the Usyk fight happening in November for Tyson Fury, but yet he decided to play games with the boxing industry, and I think he was using it as a platform to kind of, get what he wants to. I guess get the payday that he wants, get more money. Maybe when he was going to sign that original contract back in the summertime, maybe it wasn't the money he wanted. Maybe he was saying, hey, look, Saudi Arabia, you got all this money. I want more than what you're offering. And Saudi Arabia knows that this fight will generate attention, will generate money. And why not pay this guy? I mean, you're out here paying golfers and soccer players $200 and something million. Not sure what Usyk's going to get, but I'm pretty sure Fury is going to get a nice payday. And we're going to get to see undisputed champion. Now, I've heard some rumors that there is a rematch clause, so this could be a 2-fight deal that happens. And then when, I'm not going to say if, because I'm so confident that Fury is a way better fighter, a bigger guy. He's a bigger guy, the better fighter than Usyk, that he's going to win that fight. So when Fury wins it, and he goes back and he fights Usyk again, where does he go from there? Boxing doesn't have any heavyweights right now that are worthy opponents of a guy who's 6'9" and can box. I don't think that's what people are comprehending. Why Fury is so freaking good. Because he's not these 6'3" guys who can't move their feet and box at the same time. He's 6'9" and he moves like a 6'1" boxer. And then he not only moves well, but he has this weight that he utilizes to his advantage every time. Leaning on guys, getting that advantage, wearing you down, because these guys aren't even half his size. The only guy that was even close to him, maybe Klitschko, was like 6'6", but Wilder, I think, is 6'7", something like that. So that was the closest guy to even get to him, and he still wore that guy down. He still, at 6'9", wore the 6'7" guy down, because he's not only just a big guy, he's got a little bit of weight to him, and he utilizes that weight to absolutely 100% of his advantage. That's what makes him so deadly, man. How do you train for that? I want to say Usyk's maybe 6'5" if he's lucky. So what does he bring to the table? I'm going to tell you now, I'm not a Usyk fan. Guy, I'm just not. That Dubai fight really turned me off with him. Hearing the guy say, well, if the ref would have started counting, I would have got up. Well, you were either hurt or you weren't. So you either pulled the first flop I've seen in boxing. You know what I mean? Or you were actually hurt. And it's hard for me to buy that, you weren't hurt, or, that I could have. And not saying you wouldn't have got up. Yeah, if he would have started counting, I do believe that you would have gotten up. But that fight kind of turned me off for you. And then, the conditions of the ring, just everything about that fight turned me off with Usyk. The dancing at the end. It was just corny. I think he's overhyped. He beat an overrated Anthony Joshua, guys. So not impressed with him, man. Not at all. Uh, and I think Tyson Fury is gonna hand his ass to him. When this fight sets a date, we'll get back to you guys with that. Let you guys know when the date is for it. But outside of that, guys, nothing else to talk about, man. Wanted to break this big time weekend fight down for you guys. Kind of give you an idea of what was going to happen here. Spilling this bourbon on me, bouncing around like a turtle. But anyways, man, didn't want to take too many shots of bourbon. I got to be up at 6 a.m. in the morning, so I wanted to get this show done. I wanted to get it uploaded onto YouTube in time for everybody to enjoy it before the fights start tomorrow. As you guys know, I try to release it on Friday. Sometimes it doesn't get uploaded till Saturday morning, but I'm going to cut some corners. I'm going to get this bad boy uploaded on YouTube tonight, guys. And I hope you guys tune in and enjoy the show with me. And don't forget to subscribe and like, man. If you guys like what you hear, subscribe to my channel. You'll get updated. I do one, maybe two shows sometimes a week. Depending on how much is going on, I'll do two shows depending on how much time I have, what kind of mood I'm in, all that other stuff. It really depends on how many shows I'm going to do in a week. But I always do at least a show every week to update a schedule, results, talk about any boxing news, rumors, all that kind of stuff, man. When you tune into my show, you're getting the perspective of a fan. I'm not a professional in any way. I don't work for any company. I don't work for any organization. I'm not being paid to say anything by anybody. I'm just a fan who's telling you my personal opinion. So, don't get too upset by it or anything like that. And just, learn to, if you want to rebuttal towards anything I say, feel free to go into the comments and I will rebuttal back, man. I definitely like to talk boxing, enjoy it, all that fun stuff, guys. But anyways, man, once again, I'm your host, Jeff. This is Bourbon and Boxing, where we drink bourbon and we talk boxing, baby. This is episode 18. Thank you for joining me. We're going to call this episode The King is Back, baby. Canelo's back in the ring tomorrow against Charlo. Once again, episode 18. I'm your host, Jeff. Bourbon and Boxing. Thank you guys for joining me.